Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. We discuss 6 questions in 9 minutes because leaders know how to be concise. I'm especially excited today because we're going to try a slightly new format where we've got 2 guests from the same company, so this will be very exciting. All right, our first question then. Ladies, go ahead. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
All right, well, I'll go first. So howdy to you, Sean, and howdy to everyone who's listening. My name is Lawson, but I go by LJ for short because Lajuana is a challenge. I serve as the owner and principal consultant of Tacit Growth Strategies. It's a project management firm that's been seen in O, the Oprah magazine, Entrepreneur, Voyage Dallas, and Forbes recently for our international success in leading projects to and through success, no matter the industry. So I'm many things to many people, and I'm most proud of being an author, an educator, and a mentor.
Fantastic. All right, Jocelyn.
Okay, I'm Jocelyn Van Coney, CEO of Van Coney Business Strategies, and we are a nonprofit and early stage startup business founder, education, and coaching firm. So
Great.
We are global in scope, as LJ has said, and we have a lot of fun with our businesses that we work with.
I can tell that already based on our pre-recording discussion, so I'm excited. All right, well, ladies, question number 2. What is the best thing about working with a team? And Jocelyn, I'm going to let you go first on this one.
So, to me, the best thing about working with the team is having the collaboration and all the different ideas that go into working with a team. And I think that people oftentimes think that it's a team that they have to build, but in today's world, especially as business owners, a team oftentimes is working across modalities and with other business owners and like that to bring together collaboration to get different projects done. So, or in like our case, we started a podcast, LJ and I did. So, we collaborated together to start a podcast and bring some new things out to the world. So.
Great. LJ, what would you add?
I would say that, there's this beautiful African adage, proverb that I use all the time, and it's, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And, I think that that's really my leadership style. I work best with leaders. And those are the people who I form teams with. It's all about, I think the people forget the difference between a group and a team is that groups really they strive for individual goals, while the team they strive for shared goals. And I think that once you understand that this is a goal that's shared between a body of people and not just an individual, you naturally have the buy-in, you naturally strive for the empowerment, the ongoing empowerment of the team members. And you also strive then for opportunities to just be collaborative, So I think that that's really what it comes down to for your teams.
Great insights from both of you. Great comments. Question number 3, I hear from other leaders of teams that it can be a challenge to get team members engaged. Tell us your thoughts. LJ, do you want to take a shot at that one?
Sure. So similar to what John Brenner, your guest from yesterday, had to say, Annie Duke reminds us that every decision that you make is a bet. So if you really want to engage people, you have to let them know, you have to make them feel that they're not only a part of the team, but you also have to make sure that they see the value in the work that they're doing. So I think when you look at value added activities, everybody wants to talk about continuous improvement, project management, Lean Six Sigma. The crux of all of it comes down to non-value added and value added activities. Team members are supposed to be consistently creating value. When you're results oriented and you're able to always think about pivoting to meet the moment, you're naturally going to be engaged. But if you're not clear as to what your call to action is, I heard someone in your previous episode say that you want to have teams need to have a charter, they need to have mission and vision. statements that they can all agree to. I agree with that. But what they really need to have at the end of the day is some sort of value statement. What are your values? If you're clear on your integrity, on transparency, on honesty, that's what Jocelyn and I have. We're clear on that. So whenever we get to do work together, we're able to be effective, and we're able to be we're able to add value to whatever it is we're doing, because we agree on those shared values.
Great comments. I appreciate that. Jocelyn, what would you add?
Well, I mean, I'm going to echo everything that LJ said. And the other side of it is, I think that oftentimes what, as team leaders or as leaders within an organization, whether we have a title or not, what we forget is that it's the building of the culture. And so oftentimes people don't engage. Even in work, they might do the perfunctory or something like that, but they don't really engage because they feel like the culture is not conducive, or like it's not going to meet their goals. And so I think, to me, the number one thing is figuring out and building a really good supportive culture where people feel that they can share their ideas, even if their ideas are not implemented or fully accepted. They can share it. People hear them, and they're not attacked, as so often happens sometimes in dynamics. And because of that, you don't get the whole group think thing going on. So I think that's key to team engagement.
Great comments from both of you. Thank you. Question number 4, what other piece of advice do you have for leaders of teams? A deep subject, I know. Jocelyn, you want to start?
Where would you like me to start after almost 30 years of working with businesses? Probably the biggest piece of advice is to check yourself at the door. And by that, I mean is sometimes we need to step back and think about the interaction that we're having with different team members and different individuals, whether it's a team member or it's somebody else. It could be a client, it could be a customer, and think about how those interactions are playing out, especially if we're really frustrated, because that typically will mean that somehow we've gotten ourselves in a box somehow towards somebody. We build individual boxes oftentimes as humans. We just do it, we don't think about it. And so to effectively lead and to effectively influence, we need to be able to climb out of that box. And if that means going to somebody and saying, hey, I was wrong, let me hear you out. Or better yet, you did a great job and I forgot to tell you, and I should have told you weeks ago. That's what you need to do. But I think that's the biggest piece of advice I can give any leader.
Great comments. Thank you. And LJ, you're nodding your head, so I know that you agree. Anything to add, or anything is separate from that? But what do you think?
Everything that Jocelyn said, plus I would say to stop silencing your mistakes. I think that as leaders, we like to do that because, we think that it's, it's a failure, and leaders have a quick turnaround. We can't really dwell on things. We have to move it, keep it moving, but don't silence those mistakes. You have to, I think we get very tribal in how we build teams, but then also how we motivate those teams. And I think we have to get out of those sort of echo chambers and learn to, like Jocelyn's saying, it is really checking yourself at the door, because you have to be inclusive. You have to be able to work with people who are differently able. And, differently able can be from the perspective of disability, or it could just be a perspective of being someone who's different than you are, which is going to be everybody, right? So you just have to be inclusive and not necessarily be trying to build those, those echo chambers. Try to break out of those echo chambers and get other folks with other lessons that they've learned that they can share, so that you can all grow together.
Great comment. Yeah, it really is an important element to not be too, you use the word tribal, but I like to think of it as get to the individual and let every person contribute in their way. If you start treating the one size fits all, then you do lose that inclusivity that you were just talking about. So great comments. I really appreciate those. All right, question number 5. This is a fun one. Well, the last 2 are fun in my opinion, but this one is
Okay.
fun. What other successful leaders of teams would you like to recognize that have had a positive influence in your life? LJ, do you want to start on this one?
Okay, sure. My first person is the obvious person, Miss Jocelyn Van Coney, A. Van Coney. You know, she's just been exceptional. We met in the context of work. You know, she had a separate thing that she was doing with a really awesome development corporation, and I was working at the school district, and we both had very similar expertise in some ways, and we were looking to work together. And ever since that moment, I think we just knew that, you know, we needed to be partners for life. So I just want to give her that love and those flowers because she deserves them all. She's the brains behind our podcast, Real Management Talk, with LJ and Jocelyn. So I appreciate her. And then the other person is my dad. And my dad is the reason why, you know, I'm a trader. I like to, you know, bet on sports. And he's really the reason why I'm a good grant writer, you know, and a good project manager. It's really my dad. So between the two of them, they're beautiful people.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing those. Or Jocelyn, who would you like to recognize?
Well, I would like to recognize LJ because the truth is, the last 3.5, 4 years, I think, since we first met, LJ has really pushed me to step out into some things that I normally didn't because I was used to being behind the scenes, even though I ran my own company. But I worked in the government sectors at higher levels, and I was very much a public figure. So I got very used to being that way. So she has definitely inspired all of that. And along with my crazy idea about the podcast, so let's just step out and do it. We have no idea what we're doing, but let's go do it. You know, the other person for me really is actually my dad also. He bought his first business when I was 15, and I learned a lot about business from him and started helping him manage and run that business at the age of 18. I learned a lot of things to do and a whole bunch of things to not do. It's been interesting having conversations years later, now that he's retired, and he's like, yeah, I would have gone and done that differently, you know. But so I think that there's a lot of other great leaders that I know because of things that I'm involved in, and I probably have like 100-person laundry list, so to speak, not in a bad way, but in a good way, that have all really, really impacted me. And so those are.
That's fantastic. Thank you for recognizing your dads. I appreciate that, and for recognizing each other. That's a very nice gesture. That's putting it mildly to say a nice gesture, but well, and what you started to talk about, Jocelyn, is a nice segue into our last question. I love talking to people about their first job, and I don't know if working with your dad was the first one or if that's how you categorize it, but let's go on to that last one. Tell us about your first job.
So actually, my first job, believe it or not, I was 13, and it was working for San Jose Unified School District in California, where I grew up. I was born and grew up, and I worked in the school cafeteria and actually got paid for it, even as a teenager, all the way through high school. So that was my first official job. You know, the second job was working in Dad's business, and then kind of went from there. And then I hate to admit that I'm really this old, but I really am. I figured out the other day that I have literally owned some type of business since 1986, which is like, we won't talk about how many decades that is. But so, you know, I often have people, I've done all kinds of different jobs. And I often have people say to me, is there something you haven't done? I'm like, well, so I walked on the moon yet. Or got on Mars.
That's next year, right? You're gonna hit the moon.
That's next year. Yeah, that's next year.
Yeah. LJ, what was your first job?
I was a dietary aide for a nursing home. And when I tell you that was like the most, it made a lot of sense, you know, because my dad, you know, he's paralyzed. And so growing up, you know, I used to take care of him and iron the clothes and make the food and stuff like that. So I already kind of had the, that humility that it takes to serve other people, you know what I mean? And be happy about that. Like I felt very, I was sad on my first job, because it was one of those nursing homes where they didn't treat the people well. So I found myself trying to be a superhero and do more than just, fulfilling whatever their requests were for food. I wanted to get them whatever I can get them. And, it just made me realize at that moment that the type of work that I would end up doing would be the same thing in essence, which is serving people, but doing it in a way where I can actually affect the type of change that they need to make their lives a little bit better.
I really like that story. I like that approach.
Yeah.
And really just how it influenced you. And I can tell already that you're a very admirable person because you go above and beyond that extra mile to make sure that people are having a good experience. So that's an admirable quality. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. How can people find you? And I don't know who wants to go first on this one, but however.
Jocelyn.
Well, to find me, it's pretty easy. You can go to www.vanconey, which is my last name, V as in Victor, A N as in Nancy, C as in Charlie, O N as in Nancy, EY.com. There you can actually schedule an appointment with me to talk. So it'll take you straight to my calendar. So you can schedule on my calendar to talk with me. Or you can call us at 210-504-6143. So those are the two easiest ways to find me.
Very good.
I'm on all major social media too, so there we go.
Great.
LJ, anything that you'd like to add?
All I got to say is you can find Jocelyn on my page. So go to LinkedIn, and if you type in my name, as you see it, La Juana Chambers Lawson, you'll find me. I'm the only one, I promise. So you won't see another one like Sean Richards. I mean, hey, he's popular. He's popular. So find me on LinkedIn, or you can go to my website at growthtacit.com. It's growthisTacit.com. Book a consultation there. Follow us on social media. Give us a call. Our phone number is also on the website.
Fantastic. This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, go to teamengagementpodcast.com, and you can download an engagement booster tip sheet. Again, that's teamengagementpodcast.com. Thanks so much for watching or joining or listening or however you're hearing of it. We appreciate you joining us. Have a great day.